It was a very not as serious situation as the people made it. But that really sent me down into a hole of very bad depression and very bad psychosis when it came to visual stimuli. I would hallucinate this woman in a dress walking around, and so I don't really know a good way to start off this video other than just by saying you read the title, you know what this is going to be about, and it's going to be a very heavy topic. And it is something that I'm comfortable speaking about because it's something that I've faced on my own and conquered. And I cannot say the same for a lot of people. Obviously, when it comes to anything regarding this channel, trigger warning. And if you ever feel like you are in distress, if you ever feel like you're worthless, nobody cares, nobody loves you, if you ever feel like you're at the bottom of a pit and nobody is even paying attention to the fact that you are gone, if you feel suicidal, if you have suicidal thoughts, I have emergency links down below. You can click on them. US, Canada, there are numbers, links, and just get the help that you need. I know it may seem hard in the very beginning, but just get to it. So, alcohol. Let's tackle that thing first. So, I started drinking when I was in 6th grade. And this was a very troublesome time for me because that is when full blown psychosis overtook me. I've had symptoms in the past, before 6th grade is what I mean by in the past, but they weren't as intense as they became in 6th grade. When I was in 5th grade, after my grandfather died, they did show themselves. It was a I don't want to say traumatic, but it was a very distressful time in my life. When my grandfather died, I would hear him calling to me, talking to me while I was in class, and it would be something that distressed me a lot. I would cry. Just the memory of him made me want to cry. And thinking about the things he was telling me made me scared and want to cry even more. And it's something that some people who have psychosis go through. They hear voices of the people who love them. And so I told my teacher, and my teacher was like, "Yeah, you're just imagining things. Stop crying and get back to work." My 5th grade teacher was a real asshole, but regardless. When it came down to it, 6th grade is when my full blown psychosis set in, and it happens across this weird situation. So let me get some backstory. Psychosis is a break from reality where you experience things that are not based in reality, which can be hallucinations, which are visual, not visual, but like sensory stimuli that isn't really there, like visually hallucinating something that's not there, or hearing something that isn't there, or feeling something that isn't there, or smelling or tasting. You get the point. There's also another side of psychosis, or a psychotic episode where you are believing something that doesn't find any basis in reality. So for me, an example would be, for a portion of my life, I believed I had no toes, when obviously, oh, what is it? Obviously, I have toes. It's just stuff like that. So that's psychosis. So the situation that triggered my psychosis, well, it was, let's say, very, very stupid. So I like to make sick jokes. You know, I find that making sick jokes, making light of very dark topics, can help ease a situation and make people more comfortable. Because then again, like, you're 6th grade, you're just learning swear words, you're just learning sick humor and stuff like that. So I was testing out a couple jokes with my friends, and this one girl happened to be there. She overheard one of the jokes that she didn't like. She told her mom, and her mom told my homeroom teacher, and my homeroom teacher told the principal. She made me write down what I did and brought me to the principal. And this was the day before Halloween, so I was freaking out because I was like, "Oh my god, Halloween is happening. How am I gonna be able to enjoy Halloween when I have this shit going on?" It was not fun. And the song was very stupid. The joke I made was a song. It was a parody of um, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, obviously. Obviously. But yeah, I made a parody of the song where I was making fun of myself. I'm gonna replace my real name with my pseudonym Eusebius. So it would be Eusebius the redneck rapist had a very shiny dick, and if you ever saw it, you would not wanna sit. It was along those lines. I'm kind of freestyled at the end there because I'm not entirely sure where it was, but I do remember Eusebius the redneck rapist, and my classmate the girl, she got offended, and it turned into a whole thing. And the principal was talking to me. He's like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Well, I get angry sometimes, and I like to portray a good way for me to cope with that anger is to make sick jokes because I just think they're funny and I think that other people can enjoy them." And my principal took that as, "You are incredibly distressed. You have incredibly bad anger problems. You were holding grudges for years when it was more of, hey, he used to make fun of me as a kid. I'm gonna make fun of myself as a joke because we're both comfortable with it." It was a very not as serious situation as the people made it. But that really sent me down into a hole of very bad depression and very bad psychosis when it came to visual stimuli. I would hallucinate this woman in a dress walking around, and there's no real way to really say what it's like and have like the proper implications being there because it's so unique. It's so different. It triggers your anxiety and your heart is racing. You start sweating and you feel like you're gonna, I don't know, you feel like you're gonna be attacked out of nowhere. You're afraid of this thing. You don't even know what it is. You don't understand why it's there. All you know is that it is there. And then I continued to cope by making sick jokes. The girl overheard, got offended, went out, told whoever would want to listen. And so I remember, I think this was a couple years later. Yeah, I think it was a couple years later, and the song, After Happy Ever After, something like that. Anyway, it's a song used to parody Disney songs. And then one of them was like, Prince Ali, something, 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 it was something about 9/11. Anyway, so some of my classmates were singing that, and I was like, stop, she's right there. And they're like, why? And they're like, she gets offended by that kind of stuff. And my classmate goes, what? I told her many sick jokes. She didn't care. And that pissed me off. So instead of turning to humor, I turned to the best thing that ever, alcohol. Because that was a good idea. Because that was something that I needed to happen. My teachers, my home teacher, my counselor, my principal, made me think that I had this huge problem. Made me feel like I had violated the most sacred grounds of that school. They made me feel as though I was worthless, that I was just a little ball of anger and a problem child. And what does little 6-year-old, not 6-year-old, what does little maybe 11, 12, what does little 6th grade me do in response to that? I'll tell you what, he picks up a fucking bottle of Jack Daniels and starts downing it down like it's water. I remember like so many times I would have JPO, junior police officer, I'd have JPO and I'd be standing in line, in formation, just woozy out of my head. And I just, it's amazing that I didn't get caught because I was acting very delirious. But that's when my drinking problem started. My teachers and people around me made me feel as if I was worthless. They made me feel as if I was a problem and I was a burden. And so I took it upon myself to make myself feel better. Because I tried alcohol in the past. I know what it was like to get woozy. And I wanted a way to escape from the pain. So I took up that fucking bottle of Jack Daniels and I drank it. I drank it over and over and over. And when there was such little left, I filled it up with water to make it look as if there's more whiskey in there than there actually is. And then I turned I turned my eyes a couple inches to the left, bottle of tequila, grab the bottle of tequila, take a couple shots. It was not pretty. And that progressed all the way through high school up until my first hospitalization when I was a junior in high school. That is where I became sober for the first time in a pretty long time. I would get drunk off of absinthe, alcohol, rum, whiskey, beer, scotch, all these different things, sake, and Lafoig, I don't know how to pronounce it, and Jack Daniels, and Fireball, and Screwball, and I don't remember any of the vodka brands, but up until my first hospitalization in junior year of high school, I finally kicked my addiction. And it was just something that really brought me down to a dark place in my life. And I remember pushing myself to the limit, seeing how much will it take for me to black out. And every time I take a sniff of alcohol right now, I just remember what it was like hurling out my guts, hurling out this bright orange, viscous goo that only became apparent when I drank so much fucking whiskey. Uh, it wasn't a good part of my life. And I think that's why I started taking weightlifting seriously. Because it's the only thing that made me feel as if I mattered. I was enough for myself when it came to weightlifting. When it came to my family, I was never enough for them. When it came to my friends, they don't even know who I am. They don't even talk to me anymore. When it comes to, I don't know, my teachers, yeah, maybe one or two of you were good, but the rest of you were shitty ass people who talk shit about me behind my back. And guess what? I know because I was told about that. Alcoholism drives you to a dark place. And I just want to remind you that there are emergency links down below. If you need help, call, text, whatever. Because it is worth it. It's worth it to kick an addiction. It's worth it to not be in constant pain. It's worth it to not have going to bed with a sick stomach and a blazing headache the next morning. It's worth it. I kept going. I got back up and I kept walking. And I've been sober 3-ish months of senior year all the way up to now. And college is stressful. Yes, it is stressful, but it is something that I have to confront. It's something that I have to use to help better myself. And I know that's hard, especially when you're psychotic like me. But any addiction, any drug isn't the answer. Hard drugs, I mean. Any hard drugs, they're not the answer. Find the strength to exert some self-control. Because once you master discipline and self-control, then you have truly conquered your demons.